Okay, so right off the bat, all yours, Durvar.
Okie dokie. We appear to be. Yep, we appear to be live. So welcome everybody to this week's developer podcast. Hope all is well. Today with us we've got Robert with us. So Rob, uh,
Yeah, I'm here.
you there?
Are you lagging? I'm
Rob,
here. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me in chat?
we appear to have lost Robert.
Is it doing that bug again? Hold on.
We've got a man down here.
Okay, is it working now? Can you guys hear me? I don't. It was the bug.
Yeah,
You
there we
join
go.
first,
We
and then
got
the
you now.
Discord channel gets bugged. It gets stuck in Australia. Okay, so right off the bat,
God
we have a
damn it.
lot to digest in terms of just basically breaking down, making it public. People can playtest the build, talking about our biggest concerns and issues going into releasing it publicly, and at the same time addressing and going over the week's updates and what led up to this decision. So, going right into that, where do you want to start, Durvar?
So let's start with let's start with the good, really fun stuff. In my opinion, let's start with the customization for the operator because that honestly that's where I'm most excited.
Okay.
So, well, it is. I actually really enjoy the look of the customization, and the
Okay.
idea of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you guys have, from what I've seen, worked a lot on the operator and been able to move it up, like quite significantly from where it originally was.
Yes.
So yeah, so far from what I've seen, you've got the gunsmith and everything else ready and operational. So yeah, let's
Okay.
start off with that.
So here, let me share my screen then, so we can jump right into that. Hold on. So one of the biggest things for the operator was not making it a gimmick and making to where it felt like it was an actual addition to the game that people could actually like engage with like fully. So that meant here, let me there you go. That meant basically just fleshing it out so you actually could like come to the hub and be able to choose appearances via the base presets that Michael's been working on. Just kind of quickly just go through those. That one's loading. And Veronica. And there's more that are going to be made. And there's more sub outfits that are going to be made. And the idea is that each one essentially allows you to make an RTS TPS hero unit like Battle of Middle Earth 2 or like Colonel Burden, like Nova, like some kind of hero that you make that essentially is your commander on the ground and you make a deck of them. So the idea is going into next week, like right now you can name them, like I can call her Amber. And then when I build her in the game, she'd come up as Amber. And the idea would be is that at that point you're able to like name a bunch of different heroes that you give a first name and a last name. You bring into RTS sessions, and they're basically like your commanders, your squad leaders. They can comprise an entire team. And there's two aspects of it. There's the RTS element, and then there's the TPS element. TPS being third person shooter, RTS being, well, real time strategy. And the idea is as you level up the guns, you'll be able to mod the weapons and basically change them out for different attachments that they'll use in RTS and that they'll use inside of the TPS. So, like, you can see, like, here's the basic gun that we have here. And then we have the Glock here, and let's see if I can. You can see the guns here in terms of basically we put technically five base weapons in. You get the party started. They give Michael some lead time because there's 20 guns altogether that are being added just for the operator by themselves, and they are across different specializations: shotgun, sniper rifle, LMG, SMG, and then just assault rifle itself, and then pistol. And the idea is that going into next week, we're going to be putting in the last layer of polish on the operator to flesh them out. So that's going to mean any last minute outstanding bugs that present themselves, getting the gunsmith finalized so that it shows the actual weapon XP, and it shows like a metric to show you like how are you doing in the leveling of your character, because you're going to have character leveling, then you're going to have weapon leveling, and then you're going to have like weapon category leveling. And the idea is that this is what we're working on right now going into Monday, and we'll have it out Monday or Tuesday on the co-op build, is that as you kill enemies, whether you're playing as an RTS or whether you're playing as an operator, you would accumulate XP that goes towards your character, which then goes into your attribute points, so you can spec up a character and make them a medic. Make them a medic, make them a heavy, make them a sniper, or make them a hybrid of different classes, because you can increase their health. You can increase their health, melee damage, infection resistance, and how much noise they emit in the world. And then the rest of those configurables come down into your weapon's payload of their attachments to fine-tune some things, increase their magazine capacity, like that kind of stuff that you've become accustomed to in different games. Let me go full F11 so you can see the F character better. And we're building towards that direction going into Monday, Tuesday. And what we're going to show is we're going to show everything we have up to right now going into the last Cirque broadcast. So we got the gunsmith up. That was a good portion of this week, is getting this UI updated, getting it modernized, getting it so that it supports different outfits. Because Michael has a crap ton of outfits that he's bringing in right now for all the male and female characters. And yes, there's going to be male operators, and yes, you can choose them now. I know people have been asking for that for a long time. But we've only ever had the one Cassandra mesh in forever. So, and this is already replicated, and this is already working in a co-op build. So if you go in and you load in, your operators will persist and come over. And there's some bugs and some desyncs that we're working on right now going into Monday. But I will get into that. I'll show you guys that. And the idea is that you make new heroes, new commanders on the ground. You can build 40 of these guys, 60 of these guys, but their prices are dynamic based off of their level, their points, their weapons, their attachments. So the more geared out a character is, the more you're going to have to basically spend to bring them into the game. And every character starts at level 0. So like right now, the current one, the levels are all over the place because the leveling system isn't completely done with the version that we released publicly. And again, we're working on that going into Monday. So like you make a new character here, and then you choose here, and then you can rename them. It shouldn't be doing that, but it's Winter, well, I'll call it Carlos. And then I could change the mesh to, say, Leon. And the idea is in that way, you have different heroes that you're customizing and leveling up. That one's a sniper rifle with an SMG secondary, with the headshot ability, and he can heal. This one is a full-out LMG support that has fire up but can also build. That's the direction we're going in. So these are going to be your customizable heroes. And you can see that because I marked that as my active profile, I changed in the game, and now I'm running around with him with the little attachments. Now, yes, there's some weird bugs and things that we're working out. We just barely got the progression and the profile system working. You're also going to notice that when we add in the 4x scopes, you're going to have an actual scope that it zooms in. So that's something that we're going to be working on going into next week as well. We added this resupply box as well. So it'd be easier for people to just kind of get into level and shoot and test things. Because of the whole war with Iran, this level did not get finished on schedule. It was supposed to be done a week ago. If not close to today. We were supposed to actually be able to go in there, but that didn't work out like planned. So we are pivoting. And then we're working with our boy in Israel to basically figure out the new timeline for getting the oven done. Because the idea was that today was supposed to have the interior the firing range, and a bunch of other stuff inside of there. So you spawn in there, and you're able to go in there and start your missions and everything else. So we're pivoting on that. We'll let you guys know. Well, you'll know the moment we know in terms of a new timeline for getting the interior fleshed out and getting the hub finalized. We put this little placeholder quartermaster guy here that you can go up to. You can press E, you walk up to, and then you can customize and make different classes or operators, and then customize their appearances and customize their weapons and have different loadouts that you can buy. Now, as it stands right now, only the first profile that you create works, and then everything else in RTS, you don't have an option to pick that. That's going to be coming in around Tuesday-ish, Wednesday, where the idea is when you go to the barracks, you can choose a profile or an operator, and you can only buy one of each operator. So you can't bring in 3 copies of the same operator. You can only bring in one, and that's like your persistent hero that you're using to level up and play it with. One of the other things that you'll notice is that we got the option screen or the pause screen improved to facilitate the squad manager, which is something that we hinted at and talked about on and off over the last couple of weeks. And I'm just happy that we got it in there in a timely fashion, and then it operates in terms of I can join alpha, somebody else can join alpha, and now we can track each other across the world. Different colors, I can see them at all times. I can put RTS units in that squad. So then the operators can command RTS units on the ground via their Q, their E, and their V. Sorry, X. And the idea is that the Q is a move order, and I'll just show you guys. So we're gonna just jump right into an actual session. So let me go over to Steam, and I'll just stay offline so nobody joins my session. Okay, so we're gonna go right into the co-op test map, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna take all these boys, go to the squad manager. Actually, we're gonna demonstrate. These are operators. We're gonna put these guys. Not that one. The squad's alpha, and we're gonna put these in Bravo, and then you figure. Let's see. Now I have these guys in alpha, and I have these guys in Bravo. And the idea is that if I had an operator, which I need to build one now because Derek took them out of the base map, because the preset operators are not going to work anymore. They were in the level because it's each person. You just get the hosts as operators every time. So here, let me build a barracks. Call in the unit. I'm going to put my units. No, I won't cheat. Let's see. No, I'm not going to cheat. I was going to put my unit in God mode. Let's see. There it comes. We're going to have to increase the speed of that. Well, this map is going away anyway. This map is just a placeholder for the time being until we get the other map operational going into the next week or two.
Half Moon Boy.
Which we'll talk about that too in the next section. Actually, for the sake of the test, I'm going to have to actually do it. Put them in God mode. We don't have time to be dilly-dallying. So going into Monday, Tuesday, you'll have an option to basically swap between all of your presets here and be able to choose, oh, I want operator Alan Walker. I want operator Charlie. You know, and the idea is that your operators are unique to yourself. So when you join someone's game, you're bringing over your characters that you've been individually leveling in your single-player sessions, in your co-op sessions, or in your standalone missions, whether it be RTS or TPS or whatever. And everything is saved, and everything is tracked. So the idea is like if I go to him, you can see that's the operator that I was playing as in the hub. And if I possess him, well, actually, first I got to add him to a squad. So if I click here, and I go to squads, and I add him to selected, you're going to see that now he is right there. And if I possess him, which again, this is going to be an actual key you're going to press, then I can see the commander UI, or the squad UI. And if I press Q, they're going to form up, and they're going to move over there. If I hold Q, they're going to form up as me in the center of the formation. Now, this works with multiple operators, and this works with like each operator has to be in their own squad. So theoretically, if you have 3 operators in a squad, anyone can give a move order, anyone can give a follow order, anyone can give a abort order. If that becomes a problem, or if people really want us to push it, then we'll probably have to end up designating a squad leader, where basically whoever joins the squad first will be a leader, and then they can designate it, or the system would pick a new one when someone leaves if that was a squad leader. So that's something that we'll look into if there's a demand for it. But one of the first things you're going to notice is we looked at squad, insurgency, battlefield, and we just kind of came up with a mix of a UI that we felt worked for our game. A lot of battlefield and squad, but you have that little indicator right there, and that indicator can be seen behind walls and structures. So if I tell them to move over there, and I go over here, I can track them. Now that works for your friends that are playing an operator as well. So you guys can coordinate and communicate, and the colors represent the player. So let's say, for instance, let me turn down the game a little bit. Let's say, for instance, you are essentially playing with your friends, and they all get a unique color. The colors would be represented on your unit icon, and they'd be represented on the commander UI at the bottom left, the squad UI. And that kind of leads into basically like being able to make this just joint unified effort of like you're coordinating and you're communicating with your team. You're trying to figure out like, okay, Alpha Squad is in charge of guarding this area. Bravo Squad is in charge of guarding this area. RTS players, as they're building units, can be like, oh, you know what? I want to add these 2 guys to Alpha Squad. They lost a medic. Okay, great. They're added. They were pulled out of Bravo. They were added to Alpha. And then you could manually say, you know what? Go over there and help out those operators that are in charge over there. Or the operator could be like, you know what? I'm just going to reissue a move order or reissue a follow order or an attack order. And these guys will just take off running and group out and link up with the rest of the squad wherever they are. So that's something that we're very, very happy to have gotten going into this week and got that implemented and got that improved based off of a legacy version to not make it a gimmick and not make it to where like it's very important to us for the operator that if you're going to play as it, it's going to be like fully fleshed out in an entire game on its own in terms of the ability set that you can do. So that's going to be this week, is taking what we've showing you right now and adding on the final icing to the cake, which would be the progression, any bugs or issues that present themselves, any feedback that we receive for the operator, whether it be the RTS or TPS elements, and then that will lead into UI and final bug fixes. Well, we can actually get the option screen and the options and the online and the squad and everything else just looking better. Because right now it's very rough. It's very ugly. We know. It really just comes down to manpower. Is that you figure we're trying to just get the remaining elements of the gameplay finalized and firing in all cylinders. And then we're going to focus on the UI from the operator standpoint, from the RTS standpoint, get into stuff that you guys are accustomed to. Like when I highlight this unit, it would show their details. We're not regressing. We're just basically doing things in phases and stages. And people have been very, very vocal on Steam, on Discord. We want to play what you guys are talking about every Saturday. So we were like, okay, fuck it. You want to play it? We'll release it. Just keep in mind the little FAQ and the notes is there's going to be some issues of points of contention. We're still working it. The problem is that you're going to get spammed on your news feed because we update the Patreon build, which is what we've been testing. When we do the public and the private tests, we update those every couple of hours, every day. Like, I think there was 10 updates yesterday. So it's one of those things where, like, just keep in mind, this is going to be very fluid, and it's going to be very rapid, where it's going to be, like, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Don't be surprised if there's a patch every single day. And what I might end up doing, so I don't blow up the Steam news feed, is just, you might see an update, but I'm just going to have an update day where I grab everything that's changed between, let's say, Monday and Wednesday, and post an update on Wednesday. And then take everything that was updated on Wednesday, Friday, and then post that on Friday. And then if you want to see up-to-the-minute details, our Discord has a build change log channel. So before a build goes out, before anything happens, anything that changes in our project is documented and posted publicly. So if you want to know the moment to moment, what's going on in development, what's changing, what changed 10 seconds ago, what changed an hour ago, did they fix that bug I reported on the Steam forums? Are they actually listening? You can join our Discord, look at our actual info channel for change logs, which here I'll show really quickly. It would be this channel right here, our change logs channel, where you can see like, oh, people are changing and working on different elements and X, Y, and Z. So then at that point, you're able to be like, okay, like they didn't post a patch note, but if I go and snoop on Discord, I can see they changed this bug. They replied to me on Steam and they fixed that. They were in a voice channel and they changed this because we were complaining about this, whatever it is. Just keep in mind the resources are there so you guys know what we're doing at any given time. If you see the updates going, I just don't want to spam Steam and then people turn off our notifications. So just be aware of that because I'll be spamming the Patreon's channel every goddamn day some days. I feel bad for them. I do the everyone tag or other crap. But they love it because then we jump in a channel and we play test and whatever. And now you guys are in that ecosystem that we've been kind of like keeping in a smaller set so we can at least like hyper focus certain aspects in a very like really quick rapid fire approach. And it's getting to a point where it's like, okay, great. Now we need to open it up more. A little bit overwhelming it's going to be, I'm sure, with the more people. But it is what it is at the end of the day. Because you figure like people want to see that co-op is actually functioning in some shape, manner, or form. And that we're not just abandonware, vaporware, some other bullshitware. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's a rebuild. Yes, the entire game was deleted and redone from scratch. And that we're slowly but surely going to re-implement everything that's in Legacy. I just want to address that here and now. If it's not in now, it's because it's in the phase 1 through 3 rebuild. Because we're going to be getting some new people that are going to be watching these broadcasts. And we're going to get people that are returning, that have given up on the game. It's going to be a wide set of people that I'm sure are going to be returning to check out the game and leave their critiques, leave their feedback, and just join the voice channel. So I just want to throw that out there. Just for transparency, people know what we're thinking and what's going on. And we are aware, again, there's about 24 bugs that we have to fix officially before we leave phase 1, sorry. One of them is this, where we know that the mouse smoothing that we do for zooming in and out needs a lot of work because I will show you why. If I go back to the hub and then I go to the Monterey Bay map, this is the map that the moment we get to a point where the operator and the UI are skinned, or technically while Derek's doing the UI skinning, I'm going to be working on this map. This map is going to replace the map you just saw. This is our map we were working on in secret, not really in secret if you've been watching every Saturday. And the idea is that you have the strategic locations of 4, and as you lose zones, let's say for instance you lose this strategic zone, then all of this is invalidated and gas towers pop up. And then the spawners move up to say here, and they start coming out of those buildings, and they'll start assaulting the remaining 3, which is this blue, that blue, and this blue. So just keep in mind, we're moving towards this direction. We included the map so you can at least see what's working, what's going on, what we're doing for transparency's sake. Because so many times nowadays in today's day and era, there's so much bullshit for early access titles, so much distrust, you name it. So we're like, okay, let's get ahead of that. Let's show things are happening, things are going on. You know, we're working on everything. We're being responsive as much as possible for 2 programmers doing the work of like probably, Broken Arrow is probably like 20 programmers. So you figure it's one of those things.
We don't talk about Broken Arrow.
It's one of those things where it's really, really important that we're kind of like doing that and showing you guys what's going on. Yes, this is actually a thing you can draw on the map. This is part of a UI card, is that as we're working on the UI, we want to take this a little bit further and add like an ARMA-based, like I can add icons here. Like you click an icon and then type and it will do that. And then if I hit this, let's see if it's going to play nicely. Yeah, trash bin. And then the little eraser tool, because the game is all about communication, coordination, and basically being able to like if you're playing by yourself, great. You could use this as a scratch pad to draw layers and plans. If you're playing with your friends, then you can use like you can come here as a tactical map and be able to see what's going on. So these are all things that we're working on and we're pushing towards. And that right now we're trying to just wrap up the operator, and then Derek's going on UI. I'm going on finishing this map, and then we're gonna meet at the end line, and then work on bugs until it's done. It's bugless in terms of whatever issues you guys are running into right now for the phase 1 rebuild. And just really quickly, because I want to hit upon this real fast, because we showed this off a day ago, and I'm just going to bring this up, and I'm going to put this out there just so people are in the know. We know our UI is trash.com. This is the UI that we've been working with Winter to basically replace the current one that you see in the build. So keep in mind, we put a Discord thread up. If you want to leave feedback, if you have questions or concerns, you should bring them up today at the Cirque broadcast about the HUD. You should bring them up in the master thread on Discord. But this is the general direction, the vector we're going in right now for the UI. So we skid it, ideally towards the end of the week, when the operator's done and we're happy with like the everything else. Because I mean, the one thing that might bleed us over is just getting the abilities in for the operator. That might extend it or it might bleed over a week, but we want to take this all the way down the line. So it's really important to us for the operator that they are fully fleshed out in terms of like you can take things from the RTS, make hybrid units, but then you could do things yourself. So if you're playing as an operator and you take the medic skill, you can run around as an operator and heal people in third person. You could build stuff. You can repair stuff. Throw grenades, flashbangs. What else is there? Shoot a flare. That kind of stuff. Where it's basically like you don't have to always rely on an RTS unit. You can take abilities that complement your playstyle. So you're your own assault. You're your own assault sniper hybrid. It's whatever you want to do, however you want to play the game. And that's what's important to us is that user choice. So if I go back to the hub, and again, this UI is being completely redone. We're looking at Division and a couple other games to get inspiration and ideas for the third person. And we'll have something to show for that by the end of the week for the TPS final UI. Because this was the early mock-up that we did, and we were like, okay, it's not really going to work out the way we thought. A lot of things changed. I mean, you guys know how things are. You write things down, you implement them, and then things change between then and now based off of feedback, criticism, just engine limitations, blah, 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 blah. So that's the general gist of what we're going into. And what I do want to show at least, if I go into let's see, I think that would be tab, go to spectator mode, just so I can quickly show you guys. When I meet with my level designer going into Monday, the goal is going to be figuring out the new game plan since things have calmed down in Israel to essentially build out this interior. You guys spawn in here via like a Cirque command area, and then that firing range and that ammo depot and everything else are going to be moved out here. And this is going to be like the operator's area to like have a firing range, customize their weapons, and just this is basically where all your friends are going to go. They don't only play third-person shooters, and then yell at you to start the game because based. And essentially, like, yeah,
like I do to you.
And then you figure it's just one of those things where it's like we'll move like right now. Let me go back. Right now we have everything right here. That's going to be going away. This is just a quick little debug way for you guys to access the game as the host. Because like if I go to online, if anyone's playing, oh look at that! Oh my god, that is the coolest thing ever. I'm like a little kid. Whenever I go on the game and I see people playing on the Discord, best feeling ever. There's nothing there that can basically be better than that. And you figure going into this week, we got the server browser online. Holy shit, that took 4 days. Just
good looking server browser.
Squad, to a certain degree, and Project Zomboid. I still going in the direction of when I get with my UI guy Winter, Monday and Janari. I still want to go in the direction of you can select a server, and then you can see details because we're gonna have mods. We're gonna have server mutilators. We're going to have so many other variables like squad, like Project Zomboid, where I spent like 3 to 4 days of this week just setting up the foundation and understanding and learning the engine and that ability. So when you change the map, it changes the map name. When you change the game mode, it changes the game mode. The players update, the ping, well, it's cached by Steam. I learned that the hard way. And then the host is the name of whoever's playing in the game. So it's one of that thing where that was a lot of my week. Half the week was basically getting the server browser set up, getting it so that like if I create a server and I press escape, my options change. These go. If I go into a co-op test map, then return the team of the hub, return team the hub, return the hub alone. Kind of like Helldivers, where the idea if you return team the hub, everyone comes with you. So you're going back. You're rage quitting, and you don't want to play with your group anymore. You return the team alone, and it just kicks everyone back to their hub, and they don't come with you. And then exit as well. Exit. You leave the game. So that was what a lot of my time went into, is figuring out that flow control, and figuring out the framework that the UI artist is going to come into and be like, okay, how do I fix this? Because this looks horrible, but it functionally works. And that's what the name of the game was this week was addressing and trying to get like the squads, like the online tab, getting the refresh working, setting it up so it has that cooldown, setting it up so you can't spam the join button because otherwise you'll crash people's servers. I didn't know this, but I learned this the hard way by doing the co-op coding, which is why most games have a timeout for when you hit the refresh button and why you hit the join button. They wait until they gray out the button because if you join it, most game engines don't have a safety in. So you can flood the network and crash them like a DDoS attack. So fun, the more you learn about game design. And you figure that's just basically been like, I think I've been on Discord, sitting in a public channel, torturing people. I think it was Ford, Riffiel, and another guy. Fuck, I can't remember his name. I'm so sorry. Who was it? Down Deaf. I was torturing them. We were watching Planet of the Apes on Discord, and we were basically testing the server browser, every variation, every bug, every issue that we were running into while we were watching. While one of them was streaming Planet of the Apes on their YouTube. It was hilarious. So we were having a good time. And we were basically just shooting the shit, just kind of, they were helping me bug test and just kind of get everything working, getting the server browser functional. And it's the same thing for, like getting, just testing everything. Question on YouTube, what about RTS? RTS is the core of the game. RTS is everything about the game. It's just purely when you're on the hub, we wanted to actually give the main menu a character. You could explore it. You could walk around it. It wasn't like Alien... what was that RTS game we play? XCOM or other games like that, where it's just like a picture. I wanted people to actually be able to walk around and explore. Make an RTS commander hero. The first time they open the game, it's going to ask you, like, make a character. And then that character is going to be your avatar or not if you don't want to interact with it. And the idea is regardless, we'll have a teleport feature. So if you press the option screen, you'll be able to teleport to Quartermaster, the Horde, Pandemic, Campaign, and vice versa. So if I go to Quartermaster, it'll teleport me to this guy. And when he's in his final position and everything else, you'll be able to go and like jump around like Space Marine was the inspiration for the hub.
When he did his
Yeah, so
final
that's
form.
the idea. So I want to hit this really strongly here. RTS is the core fiber of the game. At the end of the day, we are an RTS game, but we are a hybrid in terms of basically the TPS elements and bridging the gap and bringing friends together that would not normally play an RTS game will now play with you. It was really important to me to basically find a way of making that work. And that was the whole point of the operators. And then at the same time, leveraging one of the coolest mechanics and systems that I remember from my childhood, which was the Battle for Middle-earth 2 Hero Creator, where you can make your own RTS heroes. You weren't just stuck with Colonel Burden or Nova or like a preset character like Winters. You can make your own. So I just want to hit upon that for the YouTube chat, is that RTS isn't going away. It's not getting relegated as an afterthought. They're equal in terms of basically building the combination of the operators and the RTS elements of the game. So what I do want to do is I'm going to go into, let's see, let me open up my notes because there was something else I needed to hit upon.
I would go as far as saying the RTS element has been improved alongside the TPS.
Yeah.
You know, The RTS elements, such as the squad system, like the squad system itself, is a big
Yeah,
improvement.
and it's just one of those things where we're gonna keep chipping away every day based off of just as we work on it. Because we work on weekends, we work on weekdays. We're kind of obsessive about the game when it comes about at the end of the day. Um, and let me see if I can find it. Oh, one of the other things that you'll notice is that when a dev is hosting a game, it'll show an eagle next to their name. So you'll know if me or Michael or Derek or anyone else is playing a game. And then, yes, we're going to add passwords. Right now, everything's just kind of open. We are going to change that. So you have passwords to join. I will work on that going into this week as an auxiliary item because I've gotten DMs and message requests. Because right now, all these games are public, so anyone can just join these games and troll you. So you figure that is something that we are going to do. We will get that in there for the passwords. Um, and I won't mention the last thing because then people will abuse it. But we will. There's a couple other admin features we need to get in as well going into this week. Um, let's see what else is there. And then I showed the mesh variants, so you guys have that. I'm going to jump over to the RTS again. We're going to go into you. We're going to pause it, and then we're going to bring up the. Hold on. Let me just check my notes. God, there were so many commits this week. Okay, I'll go into Half Moon Bay because that's really the last thing to show, and then we're going to talk about the breakdown and move on to Q&A. So, Half Moon Bay, I'm going to just kind of briefly show people that haven't opened up the co-op map and looked around, is that Efren's been working. Actually, it would be better visualization without the fog of war. So let me open up the SDK so I can actually show you guys like the map with the proper lighting, because it doesn't paint the light in it doesn't paint the map in a positive light when you when it's the fog of war, because it looks a lot more gorgeous. So if I go to you, oh, he must have changed some textures out. It's shader compiling. Come on. Yeah,
I'm
no,
doing
he
them
just came back
shaders.
from Friday because he went camping this week with his girlfriend, I think. So you figure he was gone from like Monday to Friday. Um, okay, so we're gonna just break it down in terms of basically what you see now versus what's coming in this week and next week. Is that essentially this map is the current golden standard for our co-op horde maps going ahead. The co-op horde maps in Legacy and Experimental are deleted. They don't exist. Take them out of your mind. They were a product of their time. And that you figure we can do better. We're going to do better. So, and we have done better with this map. So, a lot more attention to detail, a lot more deco and other things going on in the world. All of these walls are landscapable and clearable, so you can build. Structures aren't, same as they were in Legacy. And the Efren slowly but surely been filling in this little Half Moon Bay area and just populating it and just getting everything situated. Right now, he's focusing on just populating, getting the big stuff in, like the structures, the walls, the landscape, the basic landscapables like walls. Now that he's back, this as of like yesterday, he'll be going in and adding cars, traffic jams, small little environmental detail stuff that kind of adds more icing to the cake and make it feel like a more livable world. Sidewalks, the small little stuff that like your brain catches on to. This doesn't feel like a real place. Shader fixes, optimizations, performance, that kind of stuff. So all of this came in the last week in terms of basically like if you looked at our previous Cirque broadcasts, these were all empty. There wasn't much going on. There was just empty patches of land. You know, I was very keen on him redesigning the center regional command. And this is where all the Cirque players, I imagine, are going to gravitate to. They're going to build their central base, and then they're going to spread out into their teams of RTS players going to the left, RTS players going to the right, RTS players going to the north. or whatever operators are playing as well. So then that way, like this is your central structure you have to defend. Now, as it stands right now, you have to lose this one, that one, this one, and this one for the game to lose. And then you get kicked back to the main menu. You're like, you suck. You lick your wounds and you start over. And you figure it's slowly but surely being filled in, blocked out, and designed from his standpoint. Um, Now, we're aiming to kind of have this map to a point in the next week or two, going into mid-July to where it's donezo's. I think it's pretty close, regardless. I mean, you figure, give it another week, week and a half, and he'll be scratching the bottom of the barrel. Like, these areas are going to be populated. And we got rid of those little weird ghetto spawners. We're pivoting to a different approach for spawning infected, where instead they run out of these homes. So the homes that are on the outskirts of the map are the spawn points for every Horde defense objective. So the idea would be is that they're going to just run out of the garages here and then be tasked with whatever local objective they have to accomplish. And then when you lose the zone, it'll move the spawns up to like this area, and that area. And then from there, they'll be closer to take these zones. So just keep in mind, we know the map is large. We know that there's going to be some optimizations and tweaks we're going to have to make going into making this the mainline item to play. And another reason why we're going in this direction is because this map will better facilitate the gameplay that we want to aim for when it comes down to the vehicles, airstrikes, doctrines. We need a big enough map to just stress test and get as much field work done going into phase 2, and then from there leaving into phase 3. So this allows us to get the Horde working, but also get some other optimization systems going for larger maps. So we transition to phase 3, which is the mode you guys have all grown accustomed to and love, and the one they're really waiting for is Pandemic to fire on all cylinders. And we don't have as much work to do. So we're just kind of taking it in small, bite-sized chunks to just chip away as much as we can, indirectly and directly, based off of the systems. Because you figure, by this map, by all intents and purposes, will force us to hyper-polish the landscapables, the removables, at scale and at size. These babies right here. So then that way they're cheap and they're inefficient in terms of basically like, not inefficient, but cheap in terms of like network costs, network update rates and all of that. Because again, like everything you change in a world has to be replicated and sent out to every client in the world. Especially since it's an RTS game, everything has to be in sync generally. Otherwise you get desyncs or other stuff like that. So we'll be going through as we bring this map as a mainline item and stress testing those systems. So when we get the Pandemic, there's less to do. And when we get to phase 3, the only system that we're really just tweaking is maybe increasing some things to make it a little bit more aggressive for optimization based off of that stress testing. And the mainline things are the evacuation, Chelsea, custom game settings, alternate start mode, and the infection spread mechanics, which we've already laid the foundation for that by having the zone system. Like the infection spread mechanics and the infection population would just be a additive system to the zones that we already have in Horde mode. So you can kind of see how we are slowly but surely edging the line towards getting back to the status quo and getting it to the point where you guys have Horde co-op and you have Pandemic co-op. And I want to stress this because we have a lot of new people on YouTube and on Discord, and people that are going to be watching this as a VOD, is that the moment this map is done, it's final, there's no more issues, it's aesthetically pleasing, then Dimitri and Efren are going to work on at least 2 to 3 to 4 more Horde maps to give you guys some more content every month and a half. So they're going to be, that's their job or their directive. So once Dimitri finishes the hub, and we get like a new schedule for that, it'll be probably a week or 2 to get that to the point where I'm happy. Then this map finishes ideally around the same time, and then they'll go off and take the things that they've learned and the feedback we've received, and what kind of map do you guys want to see? What kind of environments do you want to play with? Then we'll take that and make another Horde map just to kind of get you guys some variety. So you're not just only playing this map till phase 2. So phase 3 is done. Nobody wants to do that. And then once we get you guys at least a minimum of two more maps, depending on where we are in time, then they need to move over to Pandemic, and they need to get that open world map with San Francisco and Treasure Island and Angel Island and everything else situated and working. So just keep in mind that's the game plan. That's what we're working towards. And another thing to address is that if I go to the post that I made today, and I go down to here, let's see. Oh, that's a fucking ratioed. All right, let's go. So you figure, where is it? I'm gonna go here. Oh, here. So here's our basic outline of what I just said of Half Moon Bay, Horde mode balancing, which is what we talked about previously, polishing the operator, finishing the phase 1, which is the UI, and then if I go here, you're gonna see a breakdown of what's coming next. Phase 2, phase 3. So it's clear in terms of what our agenda is and what we're trying to accomplish. So no one thinks that we're trying to remove features or... I just want to be very clear on that and mention that so no one's going to misquote me and be like we're cutting features or mechanics or systems or simplifying the game. No, we're not. We're just taking it in bite-sized chunks so it's more manageable for 2 people. Okay, so that pretty much sums up what I want to hit upon for what we did this week. And now I want to move into an actual Q&A. Unless Durvar, is there anything else you want to bring up from your standpoint from what you've observed before we move into the Q&A? Because I know you've been sitting in the room while we've been working on this, being tortured too.
Yeah, I have been. I've been sitting in there like, and especially when you had me testing
Poor
everything.
bastard.
Hey,
Durvar, can you open the game for 5 seconds
anyway.
and then close it and then go back to whatever game you were playing, like Rocket League, every 10 minutes? Poor bastard.
It's like the matches would last about 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes later I'd hear, "Hey, can you open the game real quick?"
Yeah. I'm just gonna say.
So I could have one match. I'd get one match done and be like, "Hey, can you open the game real quick?"
You wake up because I'm in America and you're in Australia, and I'll message you, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" And you already know what the fuck that meant.
It's like as soon as I wake up and I see a message, "Are you around?" I go, "Fuck, I've just woken up."
I feel gross.
You've just you've summoned me.
Discord. Like I'll sit in a voice channel all day for 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, and as people come in, I'll fucking bug the shit out of them. Well, I don't bug them because I ask them, "Do you want to help?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay, great." And then you know what I mean? It was like the other day with Ford. Poor bastard. It's okay, Ford.
I think the funniest part is, right, I think the best part is that you will message me at like 4 a.m. Are you around? I'll wake up in the morning like, I wasn't even awake then.
Well, the good thing is that you figure with the co-op build opening up as much as it is, I don't hopefully have to bug you as much. So then that way I can just join the Discord, see people in a room, and be like, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Do you want to try something new?" like the mercenary, from Resident Evil. That's gonna be my tagline, where it's like, "Hey, what are you doing? You want to try something?"
Shopkeeper from Resident Evil.
I do that. Like people in the room that they're sitting in the room, they know. That's why sometimes you'll see people on Discord. I feel like, where they're like, "Hi, Dark." It's like, I got something to show. And I just fuck off and disappear for 6 hours, and then I'll come back. They know how it is. But anyway,
you're like a mystical gremlin.
Yeah, but I'm a gremlin.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I guess I'm gremlin-y.
Yeah.
I boosted my volume for the people on YouTube. Apologies.
You come in.
But anyway, so
you come in and you go, "Oh yeah, can you test something for me?" "Oh, thanks, bye."
That's horrible. I don't sound like that. Yeah, we need to play Resident Evil. You need to be on my Hunnigan again. You tell me where to go and yell at me the whole time I play on Twitch. We'll do that soon. Don't worry.
I am so down for that. I am so down for being Hunnigan again.
Professional too, so you can yell at me the whole time. But anyway, what else do we have for?
I will yell at you
God
every
help
second
me.
I get.
So, is there anything else that we should bring up?
I don't think there's anything else that we've covered, really.
We
I
pretty
think
much
we've
have covered
everything.
everything. Because you figure the biggest thing was just generally, it was a server browser, the operator, bug fixes, which I'm not going to get into every single one because there were like dozens of bug fixes, and that's boring. If like you can go on the Discord channel, you can see the changelogs channel for the operator, and there were so many fixes and so many changes that got applied to the third person operator to fix desyncs and bugs and small stuff like that. So yeah, now we're gonna move into the Q&A. If there's anyone that's played the recent builds that wants to talk about like their experience, to talk about how the game feels now, you're welcome to raise your hand as well. But let's jump into the Q&A and let's go from that point. So I'm gonna check YouTube. Durvar, you check Discord. If you're on Discord and you want to raise your hand, welcome. Feel free to do that. And just kind of throw in your 2 cents. Let's see.
All right, so we've got one from Ford. Can the mule be upgraded to be more? Can the mule be upgraded to be more longer range, aka having a recharger feature or a larger fuel tank?
So we talked about. I think we talked about that briefly. I think with Ford. I think he was the one that brought it up. I think he was suggesting just make it charge off electricity, like make it solar, because I think that's the one that has the ammo, that carries the ammo and whatnot. That was something that he had brought up, but I don't have an answer on that just yet. But again, bring that up in phase 2. Like, if any vehicle questions, let's drill into that and let's talk about the economics and the balance of them going around that phase. So then that way it's fresh, we're working on it, and we can alliterate on it. So then that way we're like, okay, cool, but let's try this, let's try that. Because I think it was Ford that brought it up. And I thought it was a good idea. Because we were in a playtest one day on co-op, and he was like, what do you think about this for this vehicle? And I was like, I mean, it is a non-combatant. It does transport ammo. It would be cool if it was like one of the vehicles that just had a solar charge or whatever. So then that way it'd have a redundancy there. So, yeah, that's something that we had talked about. But again, I can't answer that, and we'll test that and look into that. And put that on your sticky note to bring up to me in a month. Because that's roughly around the time, ideally, month and change, ideally, that we'd be on the vehicles. So we have some questions on Discord. What we got here? Can you transfer the unit type over their head in RTS mode, just like how it was in operator mode? Can you transfer the unit type over their head? What does that mean? What do you mean by that? You mean like being able to select them in the world via their unit icon? Forward? Oh, no, that's Phoenix. That's Phoenix, sorry. He's right having back.
But we'll have an assault emblem over their head.
Oh, yeah, that's coming. That's the UI card. So that's what I meant by like, here, let me show you. So when I say UI, this is what I mean by UI. Hold on. All of this. Let me do bookmarks.
Ah, okay. I know what you mean.
Does he mean this? Or if I go to the UI card and I go over to this, is he talking about these icons? Where they have, well, you highlight them and it would show that, but it would also show their icon when you're not?
I'm saying nothing. You haven't changed your screen.
Hold on. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
that I do believe that's what they're talking about.
That's the UI card. All of this?
But not selected. So he wants to have it so the unit isn't selected and you can see it.
Everything that's in Legacy of how we did it is coming back over when we get to the UI card. Like, literally, the moment we get to... We'll go over here. I gotta skin some Horde elements. I gotta fix his desync. Fix some improved last-minute fixes for the engineer stuttering. Derek's working through this list. And then you figure I'm pulling from here as I finish stuff and the idea is that once he finishes this list going into next week, which some of them like most of this is halfway done, if not 3/4 from what I showed you, because this is done pretty much. That's technically that's done. That's technically done because it's on the barracks now, but do some bug testing. That's done. That was moved over to a different way. That's done, and that's in limbo for the time being until I can meet with Michael. So I'm putting that on Justin's list right now. But the idea is like half of his list is done, and like the other quarter needs approval, or I have to meet with him to look into some questions that I have technically of implementation. So you figure, once we get that leveling and that weapon stuff, because he just finished up the weapon leveling system. So the idea is there's a patch that just went out that I have to put live, which I'll do right now. And that was what I was playing. And it adds the weapon leveling. So if you go and you play right now and you kill something, your weapons are going to level. They're going to save. Then you come back to the hub and you can change their attachments. So that just went out. And I was going to host a public playtest. So anyone that wanted to join could play with us in the Discord. Okay, it's a 900 megabyte update. It is now live on Steam for the Circ public build. And you figure, so it's just one of those things where we are going to be chipping away at that the moment I can, going into the next week or so. So yeah, what you're saying is a priority for us, and we're going to address that. What else do we have for questions?
So, Phoenix also asks, can you add the ability to make the drone move fast? Shift.
Really? You want it to move faster? Are you talking about zooming, or are you talking about
the
movement?
I thought it moved.
Hold on. Are you talking about the movement keys in terms of zooming, or are you talking about the movement in terms of the WAS keys? That feels slow. And while he writes that, so just the normal movement of WASD. Do you think that it would be enough? I thought it was fast enough. Or hold on, let me ask a question. It might be his DPI on his mount. Oh, no, he's not doing. Are you panning or are you doing WASD? I just need that one extra detail. So you feel like WASD is slow. Okay, so my question would it not be better to just have a configurable speed in the options, like we have in Legacy, when we get to the UI card? Then okay, we got one yes. Yeah, so hold out till we get the UI in, and that's gonna be brought back over regardless. So you figure, I think that will address your concern. And if it doesn't, you're welcome to bring it up to me again on the day after. Read out over in a voice channel or DM me or wait to our Circuit HQ and bring it up. If you guys still feel that it is not adequate after we add in the camera speed setting. Credius Monk 26 asked, will we have decent control of the squad as a squad leader? For example, telling 2 to 4 to go to one spot, and then 5 to 6 to follow, and then 7 to 9 to go to another spot. As it stands right now, the system is not as advanced as you're saying. It's more so just sweeping move orders for an entire squad. What you're talking about is the level of control you get in Arma. That's on a wish list right now. It's not a bad idea. I was just gonna put out the base version and see how people felt about it, and then address accordingly. For right now, put a pin in that. It's not a bad idea, and I'll see what I can do about putting it on a list and see what we can do about that in the future. Mike Capilla asks, in terms of customization, are we going to be able to change headgear or hats for our operators, or at least have the choice to take off the helmets? So to answer your question, Mike, I'm going to go over here, go to Steam, and show you. So we're going to share a screen. So we're going in the direction to keep it more manageable and controllable, is to basically have it to where characters like Kira would have alternate outfits or alternate aesthetics is the idea. To where like each character will have like a base appearance, and then you'd have like maybe 5 or 6 variations of outfits or clothes that they would have. So like you figure Michael is working on getting in Hanzo. Is it Hanzo? No. I think it was Alan that has his little like special ops one. Like I'll show you it. Let me find it. So let me show you an example of like an outfit. So if I go to view all, and then I go down to here. Hold on 1 second. That's an example of an outfit. That's her standard gas mask. That's an example of an outfit for the German guy. That's an example of another operator variant. And then he'll have a couple of outfits. That's one of the ones that are missing right now that Michael has to put in going to Monday. It takes like 3 to 4 hours for him to export out the character. And it's 3 to 4 hours where he can't animate. So he's been trying to leverage exporting the characters versus animating and working in the engine. So there's only so many characters he can export with the newer settings because he's always tweaking the settings and whatnot. That's one of the other operator variants. There's a couple others that are coming in next week. Like literally, Michael's working on his day job at Best Buy right now, and then when he gets off of work Monday, is that the one I showed? Hold on. Scroll. Yeah, it is that one. I'm retarded. So yeah, that's one of the variants for the German guy. So that's the idea that we're going into. Kind of like Siege or Overwatch, where you have like a base appearance, and then we do like a total change. Different appearances that are like badass, like Frogmen, or like British SAS, or like stuff like that, where you can kind of change the appearances. Because we ended up making the operators where they're like a joint effort coalition from NATO. So the idea is that like they're observers that are coming in to help the situation, but also like report back to their governments in terms of what's going on in the Bay Area. So essentially they're on loan. So that allows us to also have like different special operators from like the British, the Germans, the French, that kind of stuff, basically. Mexicans, like, because we probably won't only have it to NATO. We'll probably go like Mexican Special Forces, South American Special Forces, Japanese Special Forces, like that kind of stuff. So we can kind of like divvy it up and have a lot of cool Australian Special Forces. Of course, he was going to insert that. So you figure that's the general gist that we're going into for the cosmetics. And then that way you have a nice, healthy set of operators and appearances to pick from. And that way you can find something that you like. So hopefully that addresses your question. Let's see. Scroll down. Okay, let me go to YouTube. All right, YouTube cats, what do you got for me? Will we see Broken Arrow style CQC building combat? No. The biggest thing for me when it comes to that is what we prototyped in this map that will be improved upon going into the newer one, where buildings have entry points and exit points, and that allows them to come out here and come up here. That allows them to go on this roof and climb up it and come up the top. Like the spitters climb buildings now. So like these buildings, they can just run up to and climb for spitters. Standard infected blow-up guys have to use doors. Juggernauts, when they're implemented, will just jump. So that's the general direction we're going into to make it to where it's different. Because I'm not a fan of having garrison systems for infected and RNG, where it's like this stat versus that stat. Who wins? Nobody knows. You know, at least in this, you have some skin in the game. You have some ability, control over it. You can pivot. You can salvage a situation. So if you see people entering the building, you know you have 10 seconds, so they're going to come to that door. You can stage them, get ready to shoot them as they come to the door. You can get a little bird over and pick them up and have a team like in that movie World War Z, where like they enter the building, they come through here, and that way you're like, okay, we can have 2 guys guarding while a little bird, and everyone's loading onto the little bird. Because like the thing about it is that you can issue a move order like this, unpause the game. They'll go to that door, travel, go up, come out. Oh, they're doing that weird thing. That's the formation system we have to fix. It does this thing sometimes where the formation system bugs out. I have to figure out why that happens. This is one of the bugs that we have on our list going into like the 2 dozen. But the idea is that then that way you can essentially have it to where like, okay, I know they're coming, and then you have the spitters that are going to be climbing. So I feel like that is a more reasonable approach to doing like building combat. It makes it to where we can have a lot more like opportunities for gameplay, because then you can build on here. Like Ford loves building on these goddamn rooftops and stuff like that, and some of the other people. And then that way you make it to where you can have turrets up here. You can put a barracks up here. Like if I do this, I can put like a refuge center, put an ammo tent if I can click properly up here, and I'll build it. And then that way, when the units run like a recon mission or whatever, you could have the lower area barricaded out, all the entrances barricaded out, and then operators or RTS units can come to this door, come up here, get their ammo, get their medical, and then go out and do another mission. So I think that's more meaningful gameplay and separates us from Broken Arrow in terms of the amount of tactical decisions you have there. Of like, now you can like this construction. Oh, I lost. So this construction site you can go on, you can build on, and that's one of the things that I have to improve for their AI is just making it to where they understand what floor you're on, so they search floor to floor when you make a noise on here. So because that's one of the other exploits people will do, where they'll hide their bases up here. And then sometimes they go up there, but sometimes they'll wait for you under here because their AI doesn't understand I need to go up and around the last floor. So that's one of the other critical bugs that we're going to be working on alongside the formation system with this. And then generally balance and stuff like that. So let me go back to the questions and see what we have. If they enter at the same time, they can't attack each other at the same time. They have to reach the arrived destination, and then they can fight each other. It's just a technical limitation of the engine, and just generally how it's implemented. I hate RNG systems. Like, I purposely never do auto-resolve in Total War because of that reason. Because every time it tells you you're going to lose, you're going to win most of the time. So you see, like, when they come through, because I just aggroed them, I lost their line of sight, but they're going through that wall. So if I move here, and then they're going to come out, and then they're going to mow me down. Some of them fell, ironically. Boom. And then they'll probably destroy that if they see it. It's a low threat, so they might go to that last. Oh, no, they're not going to. It's not going to hurt them. And because the Horde objective was destroy, their AI shuts down unless they take damage. Because there's nothing. I'm in a debug mode right now. So just keep in mind that's the direction that it's pivoting and going into, and that's what that other map is going to build on. For this baby right here, where like me and Durvar and a couple other cats were looking at the map with Effer and whatnot, and it was like, you know, like these rooftops and these and that one, but other ones, like they're so high it doesn't even matter. Like this building, there's no point being able to go up there. None of our units can shoot from there. This one maybe, but you can't actually shoot anyone, so all you can do is hide up here, because you figure like we have natural line of sights, so if you can't see it, you can't shoot it. And because all of our buildings have this like curvature, you can't really shoot anyone below you, but the building gets to a certain height. So it's one of those things where like we're gonna have to look into that as we kind of scale up and get this map situated, because different issues are going to present themselves from a technical standpoint as we implement and get this map like as we scale up the mechanic. Because again, we use that map to get the proof of concept and to establish the workflow. And there are some things that we need to improve or change to make it easier for level designers to work with the tool set and the systems. Anyway, let's go back to more questions. So building destruction is going to be kept to, for right now, no. Long term, we'll look into basic stuff like walls and concrete and street signs and that kind of stuff. Epic just released their chaos destruction, so it was production ready. I think it was like a version or two ago. And now we need to get in there and figure out what are its limitations, what we can do with it. So like building destruction as a whole, no. But when it comes to like small stuff like Broken Arrow or Company of Heroes, like walls and fences and stuff like that, and grenades, that's going to be the goal initially. So we can keep it limited in scope and maintainable and manageable. Because we figure if you do entire buildings, the entire building has to be remodeled. The entire structure has to be changed to facilitate chunking. It's not just like you apply it and it's done. It's a different modeling ideology or approach for how you make everything in the entire game, and it makes the game infinitely more expensive or chunky-wise. So it's one of those things where we don't have the resources to facilitate that. So we're going to do it based off of just like Company Heroes and whatnot. Use that as a standard to go forward with bridges. And then maybe long-term we get more resources, we can look into it. But I know that is the question that does come up occasionally. So I'm going to take one more question on YouTube, and then I'm going to jump over to Discord. So one of the people on YouTube asked a question, and I'm going to show you. So right here, share screen, are the revised airstrikes and the revised things that we have that are coming in. We have a Thunderbolt, a new White Phosphorus, a bombing run, and then we have the actual Thunderbolt run, a proper one. And the idea is that we also got the GPU one done. Let me find it. This baby right here. Hold on. That's one of the new. That's going to be coming in the doctrines as well. Is a radio man's relay ability, so you can call on airstrikes when he's not nearby. It's a little satellite communications thing you build. But let me see if I can find it so I can show you. So the only thing that can kill people inside of a structure is generally going to be the GPU 43-B, which is this baby right here. So the idea is that's going to be really useful for like if you lose a zone. It's just going to blow up like a zone or two, be heavily expensive. But the only problem is that realistically, you really only use this. I guess you could use it on Horde mode if you like blowing things up. But it's just going to have a high cooldown. So when we get to phase 2, and we're working on getting the airstrikes in, this is going to be one of the new airstrikes that we're putting in with the new visuals I just showed you a second ago. That will just be like a, fuck it, let's just bomb it and pave it all over kind of deal. And that's the general idea. I mean, you can see there are other, this is now the new bunker buster missile that we made for targeting the Leviathan and its tunnels. So we re-implement Levy, Greg, and we get the little guys in, and we get the Blackhawk's ability in and all the other stuff. We'll be setting it up so that they can fire off these missiles instead of that little weird effect that we have in Legacy. It's replacing what we have in Experimental and Normal with a more visually impressive like appearance, setup, whatever. So this is just currently our backlog. That's the new Chelsea model. And you can see this on all of our blogging. So like you can see some of this stuff is coming in now finally, and some of it is post-dated for like phase 3. And some of it's coming in phase 2, like the new airstrikes and the visuals. So if you guys are curious, you guys can scroll through our blogs that we do on Discord and on Steam. Or you can look at our end of the year 2024 post-mortem, which we'll be doing another post-mortem at the end of phase 1. We're working on an article right now, myself and Chris, to sum up everything, all the successes and failures in phase 1 as a development update to you guys. That'll be like this one, be more text heavy, and just explain, whatever changes between now and then, the next 2 weeks, and then what like outlining everything we're gonna address from talking to people going into phase 2. Okay, so let's see. When we have Discord for questions, we go back to Q&A, and then we're gonna go to. So in-game voice chat is something that we're going to look into. I don't have an ETA on that yet. We have to look into that one. I know there's been some talk of using the squad system and having channels, but that's something that we need to research and look into. That's more of a wish list item at this time. Right now, we're primarily focusing on Discord as a voice comms, but it is something that has come up, and it just purely comes down to, it's more of an icing on the cake, nice feature to have. It's like there's certain things we need to get a chat, and we need to get actual contextual actions in the game. So if you press Q or you press something else, you can mark something in the world with like a voice prompt. So that is something else that we'll look into, and we'll write that down for the future. Could you showcase the available operators? Yeah, hold on. So as it stands right now, if I go here, there's more variations that Michael's putting in. Like there's another variation for this guy Michael's going to put it going into next week. There's Cassandra. There's Hanzo. Right now, they're all wearing the base BDU for the operators. And then Michael will get more fancy like he did for some of the other Kira ones, where he has like the urban one. But then he also has another tattooed one for her. There's Leon. Veronica. I don't think, he hasn't put those in yet. But the goal is you figure he has like a minimum of 2 to 3 outfits for every one that he's made. And he's going to be putting those in as we go. And the same thing for the weapons, is that we have starter 5 weapons. I love that M14. And then you're going to notice that these attachments are going to fill in. So his goal for each attachment is to add at least 2 to 3 per slot. And each weapon is going to approximately go up to like level 12, 10 to 12, maybe 14, depending on the amount of attachments. M4, M4, the Scar, guns that have like really heavy platforms for heavy customization and lots of mods. You'll see with the highest weapon levels. So just because one weapon level maxes out at 6, doesn't mean all of them are. They're going to be dynamic based off of the progression of each individual weapon and how many attachments they have. So like say if I close out of this and I have that gun attached now, I'm going to use a console command, which you guys can't do because it's locked out via Steam ID. Sorry. And I'm going to level my up to 10. And then I go here, go to customize, put a suppressor, put a holographic, put an angled grip. And you can see he hasn't even put the extended mags on and all that. So he's modeling all of them. He doesn't want to put them all in. Like he could just make all of them and the magazine doesn't change. But he's trying to do it to where the magazine always changes. The angled grip model always changes. The suppressor model always changes. Because he doesn't want to just use the same one for every rifle, every SMG, every pistol. Because everything's different, as most gun nuts would know. There's some universal ones, but they're unique to every weapon. So this would be an example of like weapon level 10. I think you'd have a progress bar, and it would show you how much level you have for the next one. And again, just to kind of retread that, as you use this gun, you're going to accumulate sniper. You're going to level up your sniper proficiency, and as you do that, you're going to unlock more sniper rifles. So there's going to be a drip feed of weapons every week, every other week, where he'll add in a couple of assault rifles, a couple of SMGs, a couple of sniper rifles, a couple of pistols, and then that would factor into like, oh, I've leveled out my M14. I need to go use that again, get my sniper proficiency to level 2, and then now I can get the M107 or the Barrett 50 cal by just leveling up and using guns of that class type. Because the idea is that we want operators to specialize into two certain play styles. And if you want to just like suddenly just take your M14, abandon the sniper profile preset, you can, but you have to start out from level 0 from SMG proficiency. So now you're like, okay, and then this is the beautiful part. No one says you have to play as your operators in Operator. You could customize them here and then play them as RTS units like your assaults and your heavies, level them up in RTS, come here and deck them out and customize them, and then go back into RTS and grind them in RTS. So just keep in mind, you can fully level out these characters in any way, shape, manner, or form that you feel like. So that's a cool little choice that you get there in terms of like how you choose to engage with the game. And then you can see like the recoil and everything else. So like as we add different attachments, so more the recoils for vertical and horizontal traverse are going to primarily affect the operator to where like it would reduce. Like right now the recoils are really low, but Michael's going to tweak those to make them a little bit higher, and then make it to where like you have a vertical foregrip that might affect horizontal and vertical equally, but then you might have like an angled grip that affects horizontal but doesn't affect the vertical. So that way you can tune the weapons like Call of Duty or Battlefield based off of how you play your games and how you want your guns to handle and how you want the recoil patterns to work. Because we got inspiration from Rainbow Six Siege. In terms of like, you know, each weapon has a recoil pattern, and it's not really like you can see this one's kind of arcing at an angle to the right, but some of them will do like a weird U, a C, like they all do different shapes based off of like a recoil pattern or like a diamond when you hold down the trigger. And that way it adds a little more nuance and control to each weapon. I didn't really go over this, I guess, but we added equip animations. Right now, only the operator uses it. It's a placeholder animation that Michael has to kind of tweak, but they kind of just touch, and you can see it, the pistol goes into her holster on the bottom right, and then she pulls out the weapon, you know? So, and the weapon goes to her side right there. And that's just one of the things that we also just kind of got in as a little like last minute change. Okay, so what do we have for questions? I'll move back over to Q&A. Let's see. Will the patch with the flag be customizable? No, but I will talk to Michael about that. I know that because the way that the characters are exported, there's really not much room for like editing that without it being a nightmare. But we did talk about trying to put people's patches or Steam emblems on their shoulders. But that was kind of put on the back burner for like where the American flag is, to put it over there. I know for the vehicles, it's more doable based off of the masking techniques that he uses for Dimitri. But for right now, no. But I will put that down as another note for somebody to look into. Let's see. Black Ops Kangaroos. That's just a wild reveal. Phoenix asked, I know you said there won't be any primary weapons like snipers, assault rifles, etc. Well, you have grenade launchers via secondary like engineers. We haven't come to that determination yet. We're going in the approach, and we're going to have to give them the grenade launcher and all that. But that's going to be at the end when it's going to be warranted once the Juggernaut comes in. Base minimum. And, you know, we'll look at games like Helldivers and all that to see how they handle it. But I don't have an answer for you just yet, because right now that's not super needed, and we're still like in the opening salvos of getting the operator in there and fully playable and customizable. And that was another reason why instead of just putting in all 20 weapons and then having them all just operate the same exact thing, we're doing a drip feed approach every week where we just patch in new weapons. So bear with us, give us a little bit longer to kind of get the base 20 weapons in, and then that's something that we can look into. Because right now, our answer to the Juggernaut from a preliminary standpoint was the M107 and some of the armor-piercing, higher shooting 7.62 rifles. So you figure, let me get back to you on that one. Put a sticky note in that, and we'll come back to that in a week or two. Let's see. Yeah, PvP is not really a focus right now. I have no idea how that would work. Right now, we're primarily a PvE-focused game. I want to get that perfect, Because like you figure we already get enough criticism from during the operator, biting off more than we can chew by trying to implement a third-person shooter when we already have an RTS game. So it's one of those things where I want to keep it controlled, I want to keep it managed, and I want to execute on what we already have within the core fiber of the game, which is the PvE experience going into like Horde, Pandemic, Campaign, and then if there's a demand, if people want it, when the time is right, then we can look into seeing if PvP is possible and in what shape, manner, or form we could take for that. Because like you figure, I know Space Marine has it where it's simple. You just go into a room. Durvar loves abusing me now with this fucking Volmark. And basically, you can duel each other in Space Marine 2. And they have that one versus mode. But again, it's one of those.
I don't love abusing you. I just do every now and then.
With a cheap shield that literally I can't hurt you. So, yeah, literally, it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, like, I hear you, but just that's going to be a wish list item, and it's not a bad idea. It's just something we can't execute at this time. Let's see. So, dumb brick. What is it? Stun gun for Alcatraz.
It's not my fault the shield is the most effective thing.
No, for the stun gun. Maybe a beanbag shotgun for non-lethal takedowns for civilians. Because you figure, for the assault, we had a beanbag gun that the assaults would use to be able to shoot people to get them to disperse. And it was a secondary weapon. I'm open to that. Where if civilians are being annoying in Pandemic, you just switch to the beanbag and you shoot them. And they run away. Because all we literally had was a stamina meter like in Metal Gear for Legacy. Where your RTS unit would be like, oh, you'd switch them, tell them to shoot the civilian. But in this case, you could just do it yourself and disperse them. And then they would come back later on and riot or whatever. But that was the idea, is you were just buying time for Pandemic to try and like get a situation under control. Because you wanted them to disperse, get off the streets so they weren't an infection vector. And you wouldn't have to murder them all regardless in the future. Let's see, what else do we got here? Oh, yeah. So what Silent Song said about what Maxim was saying was, yeah, a chat communications channel is something that is integrated. It's built into the engine. We need to find the time to implement it. It's like the server browser, where it's like, I'll see what I can do with the base minimum of getting a server browser in. I'll look into the voice comms, but I don't know how well that's going to work right off the rip, how simple it is, because right now we have such a high full dossier for like what you guys saw at Trello. Is that you figure like we'll do our best for that. Right now we're going to rely on Discord and Steam for communications for in-game play for the early builds, but it has to. It has to be in some shape, manner, or form eventually. So it is on our list. Phoenix asked, there's something, and then YouTube. You got questions? Throw them at me. I see you guys creeping. Number 3, I know you said there won't be any primary weapons like snipers, assault rifles. Will you have grenades? Oh, I already answered that one. Will there be supplies, ammo, or medical drops in Horde? That's going to be doctrines. That's going to be the call-ins. So, the Radio Man, that device that I showed in the previous post that the radio guy can put down, the operators, when they take that ability, where they can put it down, can call in airstrikes. That's where you're going to see that come in. Where you can call in ammo drops. You can call in medical drops, sorry. So like, if I go here, and this is for your own reference, so you guys can go and look at it at your own pace, and if I go to, where are you? There. There is an asset that we are going to be implementing for doctrines. That is these larger tier ammo crates and medical tents. Where the idea is that way, if you don't have a medic, they died, you could drop one of these and it'll open up, and then your units can grab them until they empty. So that's one of the things that basically we're pushing, is having a larger ammo crate and a medical tent for when you're in an emergency situation and you just can't get ammo out there. You at least have that redundancy. So here, let me share my screen. These. Ammo tent, larger ammo boxes and medical boxes. So that is something that we are looking into to basically be able to facilitate like what you're talking about, where the biggest thing for us is when we get to phase 2, it's not going to be the old doctrines. It's going to be a new UI, and it's going to be new doctrine stuff. It's going to be it's going to be the old stuff, but it's going to be more stuff, like more airstrikes and more variations. So that's why it's like I want to make sure that what we have now is perfect and cemented, where it's feature complete, it's bugless, you guys can play it. Because when we add in doctrines in the beginning of phase 2, it's going to be another icing to the cake that's going to like enhance the entire experience. And then, will the attachments be given to you, or will you have to earn them by using that weapon? You will have to earn them by using that weapon. So when I used that console command earlier, that right now it's released. You can go play it right now. And you can spawn an RTS player into a map, kill people, and it's going to save your progress. It's going to level up your weapon. And then when you go back to the hub, you'll be able to do what I just did, where you can apply a silencer to the M14 or a red dot or the vertical foregrip or the angled grip, which will affect the gun's recoil pattern. And they all work, and they all do what they're advertised to do. So try that out. Let me know what you think. Let's see what we have here for YouTube. Okay. Yeah, so Tempest asked that 3 years ago in YouTube chat. He asked for usable holsters. So yeah, they did come in. That was part of one of the rebuild elements, is we wanted to change the way that items were equipped and make them not as gamey. So we changed a lot of the flow control of that process to facilitate that. Riot Shields will get a rework because I don't like how they operate. They were a good idea at face value. It's like the DNA scanner for the scientists. They're a good idea at face value, but it's too micro. It's too much babysitting. Like the DNA scanner needs to be just rolled into an actual intake structure and automated. Nobody wants the task, one scientist to just sit around and do the scanning. It should have just been one seamless, integrated, module-based structure. And that's getting into phase 3. That's getting into years of feedback, talking to people on Discord, and just seeing what people think about some situations and being like, oh, okay, I see where you're coming from. Like, we need to move some systems around. We need to rearrange some stuff. So, again, that's why Pandemic is its own phase, because there's a lot I want to change when it comes to civilian interaction and civilian evacuation, and just make it fire on all cylinders. But let's keep going. Jan on YouTube asked, I know that's going to be in phase 2, but I want to ask, will there be different heavy equipment from different countries? No. So everything's going to be American. Everything's going to be whatever the U.S. military uses in their branches. So whether it be U.S. Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, Reserve, Marines, that kind of stuff. So that's the idea, that everything that Cirque is pulling from is from their requisitioning and their basically like a joint task force where they just take everyone, rebrand it, and they get the best toys in Navy. So, and the Air Force. So you figure it's one of those things where that's the general idea of Cirque. Is they're just a new branch. They pull from every division. They build their apex or their lead teams, and that's how they go. They're not international. The only people that we're allowing to kind of bridge that gap right now is the operators. So it gives us more nuance, more ability to do more unique, cool designs. Because you can only do, like the U.S. military grunts to some degree till you're really limited. So we really wanted to experiment with that. Okay. And then Discord, what we got there? When would the speaker system be for music? End of phase 1. It's on the list. It's not talked about, but it's happening regardless. That's another reason why I spent 3 days on the server browser, because we needed a reliable way to be able to tell what music is on a server. So when you join, you get, like Project Zomboid, you have to go download their music. And then that way when they play it, it's server synced. So then that way, like, if someone's playing, AC/DC, you hear that, on the Radio Man. You hear that on the speaker towers. So that way, like, you can actually get that co-op experience. So yeah, for what Dirk Silver asked, it's happening. Like it's gonna hell or high water. It's being in phase 1. That's such a cool feature that we did in our game where it'd be injustice to wait till phase 3 or phase 2. So if it ends up being it'll probably be right before Derek works on the UI card. One of us will go and work on that. When it comes to assault rifles, I will show you. So let me show this. Is that our weapon list for the operators? I don't know if they cleared them out of the DA. So I should be able to show it. Let me open it up real fast, and I'll show you the DA for the weapons that are coming for the operator. I really hope they didn't clear it out in the player controller, because they might have been, because they were doing some organization for the gunsmith last night. So I might have to find them manually, which will be sucky. Let's go to you. Show modified. Let me see if they cleared it out of the other one. Yeah, they did. Damn. Let me see. Can I go to... Hold on. Okay. It was the KSG, the M93R. Let's see. It was the P90 Tactical, which is, this is like what Michael was previewing for basically attachments. He just kind of goes in here and attaches stuff and plays around with them and make sure that they facilitate the mods that he wants to put on. It was A12, which you guys already saw. It was the ACR. Let's see, the FAMAS, which again, you see he was playing around with attachments and just trying to figure out the appearance. The Glock you guys already know about. It was the M107. The Honey Badger. Oh. Okay, he only used that naming scheme on a couple of them. Great. That's the one you guys already have. Scorpion Evo. Evo 12. Let's see, because the operators have different versions of meshes, so I don't think he's fully exported all of them out. I don't want to give you guys the wrong one, because I don't have the list memorized in front of me at this moment. He was the one that was in charge of picking the weapons. But I'm trying to figure out... I think it was the F2000. Again, I'll have to double check, because they cleared out the list, because it's in a transitionary period right now. Where we're basically... Oh, the M110 was definitely one. So you figure, like, right now we're in a transition period where we're taking all of the weapons and we're converting them into the newer approach that we did before we did the rebuild for the operator, and we're converting them into data assets, and then we're externalizing some of the data for the operators, because they were off of an older system, a prototype we made a long time ago. So for the longest time, for the last 3 to 4 months, we've been just focusing on RTS. Doing only RTS, gunsmith, like their market, their building, and all that stuff. And then we were like, okay, we have this older prototype that we did for like the operator, how we want them to play one day, and that's still running off of the old approach. So we went in and we basically had to just convert those to data assets, and realistically, this still needs to be converted. But we're slowly but surely converting these and just basically setting up like these, where like it shows like the styles, i.e. the skins, the dev name, sorry, dev name, and then the actual display name that gets put in UI. So then that way it's very easy for us to add new characters and appearances. I am really annoyed right now because you figure, oh wait, hold on. I'm retarded. If I go to Trello, then I can give you a full list. Here it is. Yeah. Okay. So it would be, close other tabs. FAMAS, the HK416, the IWI Carmel, the Scar L, AK105, the FN Evos, Glock 19, the M93R, AA12, KSG12, MP7, P90, Striker, M110, M14, and then I'll show you guys. And then there's these, which I'll bring the list over. Bookmarks, these are the attachments that he's working on for like the scope models, the grip models, muzzles, magazines, scopes, grips, and more muzzles. So they're broken up. Well, they're broken up in this section where he's like, okay, this texture's done, that muzzle texture is done, these grip textures are done, scope textures, magazine, the models themselves. He's modeling like some of them that are base platforms where he can reuse them, and then other ones where it's like, okay. And the idea is that these are all the scopes. These scopes will be separated out between the guns. And then all the grips separated out between the guns and all the muzzles. And again, each one would basically affect the gun in a different way, whether it be RTS or TPS. So muzzle brakes, monolithic suppressors, lightweight suppressors, flash guards, a special one just for the Evo standard muzzle, a compensator, an AK-105 standard muzzle, M9 suppressor, all that fun stuff that you guys see in normal games that like give you that nice distinguished look that you were able to customize. So yeah, that's the general gist of the base list. Okay, so let's go back to the Q&A. And who else we have for questions before we start to wrap this up? Okay. So Dumb Brick asks, when I first played a year back, I found out that you couldn't move units between buildings due to how the hitboxes were made. With a new system, will this allow units to pass from one building to another if there's a pathway? It would come down to particulars of the structure. Like, we made them more face, like, I guess you could say, they're more like, what's the term I'm thinking of? They're more like size to the actual structure, but there's still a negative zone to accommodate units being spawned in. So like, let's say we take this structure and we build navigation. That's the cutout. So if you can't get closer than that is the idea. Now it's using the undeployed mesh because it's not, yeah, I have to actually play for it to update the collision for this cutout. So let me do that. So that is your negative space. You can't get any closer than that. But if you put something like close enough, like right here, this strip, it could cause it to not build. That's just an engine limitation of just how navigation meshes work in video games. So there might be some permutations where like you put something just right to where this negative extent touches that negative extent, and it looks like a unit could go through that narrow strip, but they can't. Because we have to at least have some buffer so units can't get stuck inside of it via their collision. So that's the general gist. It is tighter, and it is closer than it is in Legacy in every way, but it just kind of comes down to the particulars of whatever it is you're trying to build. What else do we have here? Yeah, the shotgun shells were changed, Phoenix.
Is that the general gist of it, is it?
Yeah, the AC and the Dragon gunship, I think that's in the repo. It might still be in the Legacy repo. No, that's the old one. Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't brought over yet. Yeah, okay. So yeah, that has to be brought over. That's the untextured one from Legacy. That's going to be on their dossier to do going into the phase 2. So yeah, the Dragon Gunship is going to be a thing. Well, there's nothing in the show. I was checking something, but just keep in mind that when we get to phase 2. Another big thing is making it to where you can control the Dragon Gunship, so an operator or an RTS player can physically control it instead of just relying on an AI. You don't have like the 2 or 3 weapons that you would have normally. So just keep in mind we're going to do that, and there's going to be the resources that are invested to get the airstrikes to where they need to be, based off of what we've talked about historically. So just keep in mind.
You've entertained my idea of controlling the Dragon
Said
Gunship?
we were going to do that, remember?
I don't remember being a part of that meeting. I would have known if I was. I would have known this. Yeah, been part of that one.
We've talked about it in a broadcast before.
What?
I hate you. But again, it's one of those things where like the AC-130 or the Dragon Gunship in our game is going to be a thing in phase 2, and we're going to invest as much as needed to get that feeling right. And the idea would be is that you draw a circle. There'll be a minimum circle and a maximum circle. And the idea is that they'll just cover that area based off of the building coverage. Now, that's the base idea. I just do it that way. It could change because you figure one of the things that I've mentioned, and there's a reason why that doctrine sheet is empty, is air power. Is I do want to look in to see if we can get like a Harrier jet, looking at what Broken Arrow does, and have it to where you have like jets and units that you can control that do circles and all that and fly around. But that's more of a stretch goal, and we'll have to see how the next couple months go, and we'll adjust accordingly, and we'll update you guys based off of just how things change and pivot. But that is something that we're not going to say too much about right now. We'll leave it up in the air, and we'll come back to that potentially in the future. So RTS units.
No, we're broken again, aren't we?
Hold on. Oh, give me a second.
I have not seen one update for that game, by the way.
Hold on. Give me a moment, and I'm going to pull that up for you.
My cat Meadow, being a pest as always.
Hold on. That sheet. Where is that sheet? Oh God, I can't find the image. I might have to open. Okay, I'll just open up the program. Whiteboard, Microsoft Whiteboard. Hold on, it's loading. I haven't been in this sheet in a long time, so I'll share my screen. So as it stands right now, this is our basic breakdown of everything we have planned going into phase 2. When it comes to new units, that's pretty much just going to be aligned to the, let's see here, the medical Humvee, where is it? The sniper spotter. We have the new airstrikes and what's being changed there. Most of it is just class abilities, and it's going to be the new vehicles that we have on the experimental brought over. And yeah, it's pretty much just passive and class abilities. There's only 2 new units, which is just The ones I mentioned, where it's a medical Humvee in the class in the sniper spotter. Let me see. Technically, it would also be the airdropped in scout vehicle, the Paragem, which would be like the new U.S. military's doctrine to have that light scout vehicle attached to a drone. That vehicle is technically a new unit as well. But that was more so just a unit that we just took out because it used to be the drone, but then we replaced the drone with that. But we're gonna put that back in and make it like a little vehicle you can airdrop in, and then you can use the units on it. The scout car, which is the Paragon. That's pretty much it when it comes to new units for RTS. The majority of our effort is going into weapons, passive abilities for the doctrines tree, and just abilities as they stand as a whole. Just new abilities outright. Like, let's see. I don't know why it resized these so weird. So an example would be like this one, where like it increases the infantry ground ammo by 1.5, which is a better picture somewhere, and I have to find it. I think Microsoft had an update recently, and they resized all of my text by default. But the idea was like you have like mutilators and XP doctrine points you can put into, and increase the efficiency of like your healing, your reload speed. So like, you know, you get healed faster for trauma care. So like your medics get more efficient basically as you play the game. That kind of stuff. Or the medics can like place down a defibrillator, and that some soldiers will revive when they die kind of deal. Like how Company of Heroes has it, where you can replenish and replace some of your units that die. Is that a medic will just place down a structure and then would basically like resuscitate them. And a random percent when units die if they weren't infected. They had to die by bullets. Not infection. So, or like getting mauled to death. But you can see like, yeah, like I don't know why these are looking. This is like really annoying. I have to find the picture and I'll post it later, because I don't know why it's doing that. Back to Q&A. All right, so we're going to start to wrap this up because we're coming up on the 2-hour mark, and then we're going to segue into a public playtest on the Discord. So let's see. Any other questions before we wrap this up, boys and girls? Can we get a laser designator for the HIMARS or airstrikes? Now, what aspect are you asking that? Are we asking it for the operator, and when another person's playing as it, and they can call in airstrikes themselves? Or are we talking something else? Just so I get a little bit of clarification on that question on YouTube. And just to fill the air a little bit here, so maybe I can answer your question preemptively. When we get to stage 2, and we add in the radio man and the airstrikes and all that, our plan is to have it to where the operator ability, the operators can take the radio man's ability to call in airstrikes. So then that way they get a laser designator they can switch to, and then they can choose airstrikes from a menu themselves. So they don't have to rely on an RTS player to call in airstrikes. They just switch to the ability, take out their lasing tool, mark his location based off of how the airstrike works, pay the money, and you're done. And that way, operators can call in airstrikes by themselves. Now, when it comes to what you're asking for a sniper spotter, you're talking more so like an ability. I think that would be like an off-map airstrike ability, like in Company of Heroes. Because I don't think you'd want to tie that to an active unit. That'd be annoying. Let me think about that. I'm not opposed to it. Right? I'll write that down on our Trello as an auxiliary item. And it's something that I can think about going into phase 2. And for your question, can we earn unique operator skins from campaign to show like our progress? No. But I'll write that down as something we can look into going into the campaign. Because right now, we're building the foundation. We're building systems to facilitate like what you're talking about. So like one of the systems that we have programmed in the game right now is that we have an event system in the game. So like eventually at the end of phase 1, I'm going to start scheduling every weekend. So if you just log on, if you open your game and you have internet access, you'll get double XP playing as an operator. So you figure the idea would be is that you get like a global XP emulator if you play during some events, Christmas, holidays, whatever. So that way we can like say like we can incentivize people to want to get on and make a new hero and grind out a new RTS hero or a new TPS hero this weekend. Try a new way of playing the game. So we're building those systems into the game. That's already in there. That already works. Like I could go in and schedule a double XP weekend right now if I wanted to for the operators. There's just not enough progression in there to facilitate it. But at the end of phase 1, there will be. So then that way, we could do what you're talking about, where there's an incentivization to get on and play the game at certain times on the weekend with your friends from like Friday to like Sunday or whatever, or just like for a holiday or a special event or like a broadcast kind of deal. So I think that'd be cool. And we're going to keep going in that direction of having it to where like playing this mode gives you this. And to just add on to your thing, Tempest, there's standalone Horde content just for the operators like Killing Floor that's sitting on the game that we need to go in and fix. Because there is a standalone Horde mode where you just play as an operator with your friends and you just run around and defend from 3 waves. So that's something else that we have to get back online because we broke that in the last 2 to 3 months working on the RTS. So when I can, it's not even on a dossier right now. So I just want to show this for the people that are new. And then I don't have an ETA yet because it's a low priority. Because RTS is the priority and getting everything else situated. Like this is more like way outside the vein of what we're doing right now on our task sheet. But it has to be fixed nonetheless. Is that if I go to Horde 1 and I go to the Horde 1 master, I don't want to save. And let me share my screen. Oh, it's just YouTube's lagging behind. Okay. If I open up these maps, you can see an example of some of the maps that we have. Hold on. Oh, hold on. It's repairing static meshes because they're nanite. Is it really going to take that long to load the meshes? If I spawn in, is it going to put me in invisible land? It's probably going to put me in invisible land. I don't think it's going to use the buffer or a proxy. I probably made it worse actually by pressing that. Regardless, when it loads in a second, I will come back to this and I'll just keep talking about it because it has to load now. But the idea is that there's one Horde map, there's one time trial, and there's one survival map. And that's a way for people that want to just play operator by themselves with their friends. They could join those. That's why we have the game mode options, and that's why we have the map options, because we want to open up the game to where you can actually jump in and play like third-person only content with your friends. And we can just kind of start to, divvy it up and split it like Fortnite, where there's different ways of playing the game, and you can get out of the game what you want to get out of it. But right now, these maps are on the back burner. They're structurally done. There's some things that can be done to make them look a little more aesthetically pleasing from Dimitri and Efren's standpoint, but we don't want to dedicate any more resources to them until we get the more mainline things done. And then these things will be done in passing. Yeah, because it's definitely going to take too long for me to show this. I think... Hold on. Let me check something. Let me check something on Steam because I'm pretty sure we packaged those games on Steam. So you can actually, if you know how to use debug commands, you can actually explore our levels. If you're nosy. Like I know Krieg does that. One of our moderators. Because they used to do modding. So, like an example, this is the Horde map. It is purely for TPS, third-person shooters, people. And they spawn in here, they spawn in here, they spawn in here and here, and they come through these little checkpoints. And then you and your friends have to defend, which is broken now, because I mentioned we changed so much for RTS. There used to be a gate here you had to defend. And there was a truck here, and the door would open, and then a guy would jump out, and you could buy stuff. And then when the Horde wave started, the door would close, and then you couldn't buy anything anymore. And you could buy ammo by walking up to this box, when like there was like ammo boxes all over the level, like these. We have to make them more. No, that one. We have to make it more unique. But that's something that we'll push into and get these maps working again. Because this would probably take us a day or two to get it working again. Because when all the RTS changes, all the changes we did to make everything work and mold, whatever, nobody went into these maps to basically like fix them per se. So they just kind of fell into ruination because like things have changed. A lot of things have changed. And then the other one I'll show. Oh, you know what? That one's probably not in the repo. Let's see, Horde. This one's broken too. Where basically there's a helicopter and you rappel. This one's single player only, and it's a Resident Evil 4 inspired. This is actually the idea that spawned us fixing the operators. Me and Michael went off for like 2 or 3 weeks and built this prototype when people were saying the operators suck dick, which they did, rightfully so. And this was like the first map we made, which was like a time trial where you had to kill people to basically force us to improve the combat. It's broken because they're not spawning anymore on this map. But the idea is that this is one of the things that we're working on after everything else is done, is another additional way to give you guys content. And the last thing, which I'm just going to very faintly hint to, which was this map, which is more of like a Call of Duty Zombies type thing, where they would spawn in at different spawn points. This one was like way off the reservation. There's no ETA for this one. The other two are functionally working. This one is like a proof of concept that we did internally. Or we have to come back to this when time avails, like when we can actually do it. But the idea is that you would drop in via helipad with a team, and then you'd have to secure the facility with your team and basically like unlock sections. I think we mirrored a little too much of Call of Duty Zombies, and we probably just want to make it to where you get key codes and access things, and you have to like go over here and get a dead person's key card and then access this door, turn on power, like that kind of stuff. I think we need to get away from the buying in option from Call of Duty because it makes it seem like we're copying them too much. But that's the idea of like what I mean by like the operator is kind of meant to be its own thing as well as the RTS, to where you can kind of like engage with this content. And this is all, you guys can explore these maps yourself. If you don't use console commands, you can walk around, look at the map, and just see what it is that we have built for like other content that's coming down the pipe. That's just long-term stuff that we're looking into. Because keep in mind, we have a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things that are going at any given time, and we're slowly but surely chipping away at everything and getting it to a point where you guys can play everything. And then that way we can keep working on phase 2. I guess I'll float the idea now on YouTube and on Discord for you guys to discuss and get your guys' feedback. So would you guys want us to spend a week fixing those 2 Horde maps, not the third one, but the co-op Horde map and the time trial one, as alternate content for you to launch off from the main menu? The time trial is single player only. The Horde map is like 4 to 8 players. So would you guys want us to fix those 2 maps or leave it alone for right now and come back in the future? So we got 3 no's on Discord. And YouTube is just lurking. So then, okay. So you guys would want us to come back to that later. Don't spend a week or a couple of days getting those modes working again. And come back to it later on. Okay, well, that's fine. There's enough people that said no off of Discord. And I'm sure there will be people on YouTube and post that will give their opinions as well. So, you know this. Okay, so yeah. It's one of those things where you figure that's where my headspace was. Where it was like, it's nice to have, but we need to finish phase 1, phase 2. Because that's a week that would take away from phase 2. Airstrikes, call-ins, X, Y, and Z. So you can see my dilemma, where it's like it's content, but it takes manpower, time, hours, X, Y, and Z to get that done. And every hour, every minute, every day matters in terms of basically implementation and getting things in there, because we're on the clock in terms of we're trying to get everything said and done by December. We're trying to have it by like Halloween, the vehicles are in, and we're pretty much at the end of phase 2. Christmas, Pandemic is in, and basically like there's some maybe last minute rough edges, but it's feature complete. You can sit down, you can play it Pandemic, you can play Horde co-op. So there's a lot of moving parts, as you guys can see by looking at our list, our dossier, and all the other fun stuff. So just keep in mind, that's the rough outline of what we're aiming for. And again, we're trying to wrap up phase 1 the next 2 weeks, 1 or 2 weeks. So it's going to be this next week is finishing up the operator stuff we talked about, attributes, skill points, and the whatever other issues present themselves from the public playtest. And then from there, we'll get the speaker system in. Then we'll start the UI and skin the whole game, redo every UI, every window, get the options in, get the control off, get it so you can turn off the drones. I know that's a big one. And some people don't want to see the drones for RTS players. So turn it on, put that on so locally you can turn that off, that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a very interesting next week as we get into that. So I'm going to end it there. We're going to segue into a public playtest. I'll be streaming it on my Twitch, so that way people can basically watch on there. If you want to partake from YouTube or Discord, we'll be joining the General Comms channel, and I'll be hosting a game. Look for the gold eagle in the server browser. That means the developer is hosting it. And again, I want to thank you guys for coming today, for having this dialogue, taking the time out of your day to just basically see what we're doing, see what's changing, get your criticism and your feedback in. It is invaluable for us to be able to see, are we right or wrong in terms of our observations of what we're prioritizing, what we're doing at any given time. It is a good way of just kind of course correcting us and having a dialogue. More people need to raise their hand and talk on voice. Me and Durwar would wish people would raise and talk on voice more. But I think people are afraid or shy. And if you guys want to support us further, check out our Patreon, our Discord supporter pledge. Consider buying a chemo on the Steam store page. We're on the summer sale, so things are on discount by 20% right now, 25% I think. So consider checking out one of those, maybe the book on Amazon. And again, thank you guys so much for coming, and we will be hosting a public playtest in the next 5 to 10 minutes. So